Hello, everyone. Welcome back to 52 Authors, 52 Weeks. And I am joined today by another amazing author, Denise Marsh, author of, and I love this title, Do It For Your SELFIE. And when I first saw the title, SELFIE, stood out. And I immediately thought, oh, are we talking about like selfies? Because, we're all into our selfies. But once I got into the book, I realized you were talking about you. So tell our listening, viewing audience, about your background before we even get into the book.
Well, first off, thank you so much for having me on here, Lisa. I'm so excited for this conversation today and just to see where it takes us. So, a little bit about me. First, I am a lover of reading. I absolutely love to read. I love to dance. I love to laugh, and I love to just be here on this planet. So, what I do professionally, I am a podcast host, I'm an author, I'm a speaker, and I'm a transformational mindset guide where I help women who are ready to shift their old beliefs to the new beliefs that's actually going to serve them in living a fulfilled life. And I do this through one-on-one guidance and also one of my favorite ways through my retreats. I host retreats in Florida and also abroad. And I've been working with women in this type of environment for a long time. And what led me here was actually a vision I had when I was 10 years old. When I told my mother I know exactly what I would be doing when I grew up, and I would have sleepovers for women where they would leave happy and healed. And fast forward some decades later, here we are. And so I truly, truly have used my past experience, my past living, my past expertise, and my past everything to bring forth what I'm able to help women do now, which is to transition from what they feel they have to doing what they want to do in this lifetime.
Oh, I love that. Listen, your introduction is probably an episode all by itself because I think about as I'm coaching women as the growth motivator, I'm able to share my experience of being held hostage by
Mm.
something that was not your purpose. And I know
Mm.
that personally, when I allowed myself to be held hostage by salary and benefits, AKA, working a corporate job or working a job, when my true passion is what I'm doing now. And so
Yeah.
I like that you are helping others do it for themselves because I don't know about you, but for me, at a young, tender age of 51, I have no regrets about how long it took me to get to this place. In fact, I believe in not leaving any experience behind. Who I am
Mm.
today is a result of all the opportunities that I allowed myself to have. And so I'm able to share with those that maybe aren't risk takers. Maybe, they don't realize that they're stuck in this one place in life. And so
Mm.
I like how your subtitle talks about loving yourself, redesigning your life, and then my favorite, getting aligned from within. And I joke about this, but I'm actually serious about it that today I am truly walking in my purpose. I'm truly in
Mm.
alignment with my assignment. But in order to get to this place, I had to do the work. And I
Yeah.
think, in the mainstream media, you hear about Alcoholics Anonymous, Anonymous, right? All the steps you got to do to get back to your true self. But there isn't enough in mainstream media about doing this type of work. You have reality
Yeah.
shows and they show you all the things that those folks are happening. But back down here on real life TV, this is where us real folks are sharing the ebbs and flows in life and what we've been through to help others grow.
Yes, absolutely. And I truly agree with all that you're saying that there are no regrets, right? Even when I look back over a lot of horrific moments that I had in my past, I wouldn't take those away because I did gain something from that. And sometimes we would love to say, well, I wish that never happened. I wish that never happened. But because it happened, other things were able to come from that. And it's just the way we look at it. So we don't have to claim that we are our past, but we can say that our past is part of our story, which is true, and we can learn from it, we can grow from it, or we can complain about it. So you take your pick, right? And so I love what you said about that, because all of it is part of the journey, and all of it has gotten you to where you are. And our experience isn't even over yet, which is even better, right? Because now we can take all of the things that we've learned, all of the things we've experienced, and now apply it and say, okay, what do I want to do with this? How do I want to apply this to the rest of my life? So I'm already loving this conversation. Let's
You
let's
know,
get into it.
so before we started recording, one of the things that I shared with you, and I'm so glad that we were on the same page as all my authors, that I don't do the meet and greet before we
Mm,
record the interview, because if you were bold enough to schedule the meeting without us ever meeting, right? And in our communication, I say we're going to record for 30 minutes, right? So if you're bold enough to schedule the meeting without having the conversation up front, that lets me know that you are ready for this movement. And then I always say, at the end of the day, people have a choice, and we're choosing to be here to help others. And so for me, it just warms my heart, because if you would have asked me 2 years ago if I'd have been doing 52 authors, 52 weeks, I'd have been like, what do you mean? Like, I love reading. And I started reading in the Chicago Public School Library. And I have to say that I don't know if back then I realized how impactful it was going to be on my life. It was literally, my
mm,
father said, we are going to the library and you will get books and you will read them. And now, here, decades later, I
mm,
love reading books, but I love reading them in the comfort of my home, where I can read, highlight. I love highlighting in books, underline, reflecting, taking a moment to write in my journal. If the book has lines for me to write in, I can do that as well. Only because for me, reading a book is an experience. It's not just checking off my list. Oh, I read Do It For Your Selfie, right? I want to be able to walk away having grown as a result of experiencing your work of art. And that's what
mm.
happens.
You know what? I'm glad that you said it. And I hope that from you saying that, like, I'm not just reading it just to read it, right? But I'm reading it to see what I can receive from it. I hope that someone takes that and really apply it to when they continue to read, today, tomorrow, whenever. And even if you can ask yourself, okay, what is one thing that I took away from this book? Just one thing. Even if it's a fantasy book, even if it's whatever, it doesn't have to be a self-help book. It can be any type of book, right? And asking yourself, what did I take away from that book? Instead of just saying, oh yeah, the book was good. Okay, well, what was good about it? How did it impact you? How did it influence you? So if we can read a book and really absorb, because we're not going to remember every word in the book, right? But if we can say, hey, this one part or this one thing or this one lesson really stood out to me. How do I want to apply that to my life? Then we really allow the book to help us and not just entertain us.
Absolutely. And another author said that when I was reading their book, they recommended that you read the book more than once. And I found myself really digging deep into that, right? So, like, there are
Mhm.
movies that we love that we'll watch more than once. So, why can't we
Mhm.
do the same thing with books? And what I found, and I'm just talking about Lisa L. Campbell, that when I read the book the first time, I was in one place in life. And when I read the book a second time, I had a different perspective on life and got different
Mhm.
nuggets from the book, because I was ready to receive that part of the book at that time compared to before. And so I do not give my books away. I do not donate them. I keep them right on my shelf up to the ceiling, only because I've highlighted in them, I hate to say this, But I'll write the date that I start the page, the date and the time, because then it allows me to reflect on where I was at that point. Was I at a point where
Yes.
I was hurting or broken? And then when I go back and say, oh, I read this during a happy time in my life, or I read it in a sad time in my life, right? And so
Mhm.
it literally is a process for me. This is more than just a show that airs every week. It is truly a movement that I plan on continuing as long as I'm on this earth.
Mm. And I'm here for it. I'm here for it. And if we need more movements that have great impact, on not just a few people, but on many people, and especially with something that's enjoyable as books, right? And how unique is that too, of having a movement with you're saying like, hey, here's a tool that you can use, and you're giving this 52 weeks, so 52 books. That's 52 opportunities, right? So even when people come across this a year from now or 5 years from now, they can still say, hey, that one book that Dr. Lisa recommended, I read it and it really did help me. And you're right. If people can rewatch movies and TV shows over and over again, right? Why not reread the book? And I'm the same. I do not like to give away my books. There's some books that are more like entertainment books that I know, like, okay, I read it and I know I won't read it again. Those are fine. I'll donate or give away. But the books that have made some type of impact, they stay on my shelf, or they stay somewhere sacred for me. But you're right, when you reread it, you're in a completely different headspace. You're in a different just period of your life. And so the book hits different, right? And certain parts of the book that may not have made an impact on you the first time, this second go around, it's definitely sitting on you. And you're like, oh, I needed to hear that. I needed that message. So I'm with you on that.
Awesome. So tell our listening, viewing audience what made you put your experiences and thoughts out there for the world to be able to read and learn from.
Oh, so this question, I love it. I feel it's a really big question. And so I'm going to try to simplify it and shorten the answer, which is that it was time and I had healed. And so I was okay with sharing. And I knew that by me sharing my experiences and my thoughts and things that I feel helped me and things that I know have helped my clients, I wanted to take it and not just keep it for myself or keep it just for my clients, but say, hey, this could help someone else. And so I even had someone ask me, you put some really raw things in there about your own personal life. Like, did you feel hesitant to do that? My answer is no. And because those parts of my past, I've been able to now look at them in a different way, and they no longer hurt. They no longer are something I feel ashamed about. When before I did feel a lot of shame, I felt guilt, I felt like a horrible like person at sometimes. I felt like unworthy at times. And so because I've been able to move and grow through that, I'm at peace with being able to say, hey, I know for a fact that there are so many other people out there who are going through something similar that I went through. And they're just wanting to know that someone gets it. They're wanting to know that there is hope, not just, let's pray about it and hope for the best, but like, no, there really is someone who's been there and they've been able to make it to the other side. And so I was so, so grateful for this. And I said, I want this book to help people. I want this book to give people that fire back in their belly, that, life can feel so much better, whether you're feeling that you're not really liking yourself. And even people feel like, I love myself. Amazing. Here's something that can help you even look and love yourself even more, right? And even just taking different looks at yourself. And so um, let me just stop with that answer right there. So it was more so of I was ready to share things that had once hurt me, and now I feel healed from those. And so I want to help other people who are going through something similar, to be able to help on their healing journey.
I love it. And something you said that I think is very important. People who say that they don't need help are the people who need help the most because they want us to believe that they have it all together. And I
Mm.
want to say to that person today, it's okay to not be okay. And
Mhm.
it's okay to get on the path to get some help, even if it means just reading a book, right? Because nobody wants to go to therapy because there's the stigma associated with going to therapy. But you need to do this journey for yourself so that you can look back and see that you were able to pull out of that place that you were in. And you talked about praying about it. I don't know about you, but I'm just going to talk about me. Growing up in the Black church, you grew up to believe Jesus is going to work it out. Just turn it over to the Lord and it's all going to be okay. Yes, but faith without work is dead. You got to put in the work, and the work starts with, and my husband and I were just having this conversation because I overheard him on a phone call, and I was like, hubby, you are arguing with this person and you guys are getting nowhere fast in this workplace setting. And the only person you can control is you. So look at what you were doing in the conversation. And that being able to do that is a direct result of being more in tune with self. Self-awareness is a skill that I personally work on daily, knowing what makes me happy, what makes me sad, right? What's a trigger, right? If you get more into self, not just the pictures, right? But getting more internally into what makes you tick will help you grow. But if you don't start that journey, I personally believe you're going to look back. It's going to be another thing like a COVID that you're going to be a part of that you could have been healing and growing and come out on the other side of it stronger. But it starts with you. I read this book called You Are the Mountain, right? The mountain is you. And I don't think we realize that it's us that's holding us back from greatness.
Yes.
And when my grandfather read my book, and I too put it all out there, it was very therapeutic for me. He said, I learned some things about you that I didn't even know, right? And he's like, I didn't know these things. How could I not know these things? Well, you didn't know these things because I didn't share them. And once I got to a place where I was peeling back all of my layers and I wrote the information in the book, I was able to be healed. And I got healed from things that I didn't know I needed to be healed from. And so for me, it was such a therapeutic process to put it all out there. I was like, whoa. Now, was I afraid of what people would think? A little bit. But I was like, it's my story. They can't take it from me. I'm on the other side and able to tell about the story. So whatever they say doesn't matter. I'm still going to be who I am today, not who I was 30 years ago. So you have so much goodness in the book. Again, we don't want to tell everything about the book, but I have a question for you. Every author has their favorite part of the book. And I'm not talking about when the last word was written, but what's your favorite part of the book itself?
Oh, my favorite part of the book. The middle. Oh, okay. My favorite part of the book is the self-love spectrum. And because it's introduced in the beginning of the book, but then when I bring it back in the middle of the book, that's one of my favorite parts because it's a time to reflect. So even if up until that point you hadn't been reflecting, like self-reflecting, it's pausing you before you go any further and saying, hey, okay, here's an opportunity for you to check in with yourself to see how you're feeling now about you after what you've just been experiencing from this book. So the self-love spectrum is my favorite part because of the self-reflection part, but also because in the beginning, when I actually state here are the different parts of the spectrum and what they really mean, but reassuring the reader and saying there is no shame, right? No matter where you are on this, because we all have been at one point, at one point in our life, we've all been on every part of that spectrum. So really breaking it down that this is something that everyone goes through, but giving them a different way of looking at it. And the realistic part of, I'm not saying you have to go from here all the way to here in a day. That's unrealistic. But what can we do to just move to the next level? So that would be my favorite part.
Well, I love that. And I'm going to share with you my favorite part. And it's only because it impacted me personally. And so you talk about if you're reading this and you're thinking, Denise, I'm not that smart. I don't have the degrees coming out of my fancy briefcase. Who is going to support this wild idea that I have? I love that statement because a lot of people look at those that have degrees as somebody who's up there. And I like to tell people all the time, it's not the degrees that made me who I am. I was born this way. We are all born with the goodies. We just got to realize what they are. I knew at 5 years old that I was an independent thinker, right? I knew that I was a leader at 5 years old, way before I had any formal education. And I'm just going to be honest. The only reason I personally went to college was to make more money. Because
Hmm.
at that time, I was told that in order to make more money, in order to be in management, I needed to have the degrees. And so, guess what? As the kids say less. I went after it. But today, right, I tell my adult children who, have gone to college, I tell anybody that will listen, you can be successful in life without quote unquote formal education,
Hmm.
and you can get certifications. And the lack of formal education doesn't mean that you're less than someone else. It's a
Right.
mindset, right? You have to be aware of who you are and as a unique person, right? Because we all got our own, when you go to jail and they take your fingerprints, or when you're born, they take your fingerprints because you are a unique person. We're all born with different skills, but you have to realize what those are and cultivate them. And it doesn't mean that you have to go to some fancy university or university at all. And think of all the folks who have made it big without a college degree.
So many people. So, and I'm glad that you brought that up too, because I know that there's someone. Here's the thing: anytime that we feel called to say something, it's because someone needs to hear it. And I know that someone watching this or listening to this needed to hear you say that, because somewhere along the way they've been told they have to do things a certain way in order to be successful, in order to have a good living, in order to have the life that they desire, that they have to do certain things or do what everyone else is doing. But no, your path is unique to you. And so how you get to whatever it is you want to achieve, that doesn't have to be how everyone else is doing it. It doesn't have to be formal education. It doesn't have to be hiring all the people. It can be something completely different, something off the beaten path, but it's learning how to trust yourself and just knowing that, hey, I'm on this path for a reason. So let me find what works for me. Let me find the path that works best for me. And so I'm glad that you said that, because I know someone needed to hear that.
Absolutely. Now, here's my other part. I love, and as I'm writing my next book, I've really been praying and meditating and reflecting about how I'm going to structure it. I love what I'm going to call the stop and reflect parts of the book where you're forcing the reader to take out a pen. And my favorite one, setting boundaries. I know personally that I have not done a good job of setting boundaries in my former life. Oh, I'm about those boundary lives now, right? But in the past, the areas that I needed to set boundaries with, I didn't. And I like how you're um, inviting, let's not say forcing, you're inviting the reader to look at how to set boundaries in certain areas of their life. And you gave them some food for thought before they got to this part so that they can sit down and reflect. And so it's a it's a good read, but it's also a tool that can be used to help someone grow. And I don't know about you, but I personally have really cut back on all the things that people say we should be doing, right? Like, I've taken the trips, I've done the experiences, the paint and the sip, and all the things, but what I realized that what I really needed to be doing was feeding my soul in a different way. And that's through
Mm,
continuous reading and learning, because I know I'm not perfect. I know that there is so much more I could be doing. And here's the other thing. And again, we're not going to tell you everything that's in the book, but I like how you do the examples of other stories, because it's not just the world according to Denise. Let me tell you about some other folks, right, who have learned some things. And so one example is Shauna, who talks about, and again, I'm not going to tell you everything, about having more joy within me, having more confidence, empowering children and family. And she's able to empower others because she feels empowered. I think this word that has come to mainstream media that everybody's using, the imposter
mm,
syndrome word, that many people, and not just women, right? It's commonly impacting women, but many people are realizing that they haven't gotten to XYZ place because they don't believe that they belong to be there. And once you decide and realize that you do belong there, you do need to get all the things that life has to offer. You go after them like you're about to lose your life, right? You put your boxing gloves on, and you gonna wake up every day fighting, because you spent so much time fighting it, that once you get empowered, it's like the chains have been loosened and you're ready to tackle the world.
yes. Yes. And thank you for sharing that part that you loved with the other stories, because I did feel that was important to give insight from other people, and showing that they too went through something hard, something challenging, something that felt that they could never heal from. And then they were able to make it to the other side, but giving their examples too and their experiences. And a lot of people who have read the book have been able to resonate with at least one or two of the other stories in there. So again, seeing themselves in someone else's journey and saying, wow, okay, if they were able to do that and make it out, they were able to heal, they were able to see life in a different way, I can do it too. And that's what we're doing here, is wanting to inspire other people to continue living this one life that we have to the fullest, right? Because this is it. And the imposter syndrome, just last night I was speaking at an event, and one of the topics was on imposter syndrome and how we can look at it from a different angle of, these really aren't your original thoughts. Right? When you're thinking of the imposter syndrome, on where this even stemmed from, these aren't your thoughts, right? This is from outside influences that has dictated your thought patterns on what you believe to be true about yourself. And so it really is taking a look from within, not outward. It's within. So, and I love how you brought up the example a little bit ago about your husband saying, like, hey, you can't control the other person, but we can always look at ourselves and say, hey, how am I showing up in this conversation or in this experience? And what can I do different? Or how can I recognize what I'm doing to shift the mood or the energy that's going to help me and the experience? Because I can't do them, but I can take care of me.
Wow. And something just really hit me as I'm thinking about why, another reason in support of doing it for your selfie. You know how we go to the things, like we go to the, let's just say, paint and sip, right? And when you arrive, you're looking at what everybody has on and what purse they're carrying. And you spend so much time with everybody else and less time with self. And that's why I'm going to be honest. There are a lot of places that I'm invited to go to. And because I'm protecting my own emotional real estate, I'm protecting just myself in general. I don't go to all the places, because sometimes when you go, you get caught up in that mess. And I'm not here
Mm,
for that. I am here. How
Mhm.
can I help others if I'm a mess and if I'm worrying about, oh, they got a Tiffany necklace or they got some Tiffany earrings or they got a Louis Vuitton purse and all these things that you can't take with you when you die. And for me, when folks are standing over me looking in the casket, I want them to say, the growth motivator helped me do such and such, right? I'm leaving this legacy behind. And so I challenge others to do it for yourself by cutting out some of those things that you do when you can be spending time growing. I like how in your book description it talks about being allergic to sugar coating because some people don't want to hear the things and they need to hear the things. They need to hear it because sometimes you need that wake up call that, like, yeah, girl, you need to get this part together. And you
Mhm.
need an external person. And look, Denise can't see you when you're reading the book, right? But she's with you every step of the journey. But as you are reading the stories of the individuals in the book, when we know we deserve better and we go forward, mic drop. We know we deserve better and we go for it. That's such a powerful statement, a powerful story. Folks, you need to get on the selfie journey. And I'm not talking about this selfie journey. I'm talking
Mhm.
about this selfie journey so that I don't know about you, but you know how we do those New Year's resolutions and we talk about what we're going to do. The time is now. Don't wait until January to start this
Mm.
journey of self-discovery. Now is the time. So, do you have any words of wisdom for our listening viewing audience? That's my first question. And then my second question is, how can our listening viewing audience find you if they want to explore working with you? I would like to know more about these retreats that you are doing. I personally love a retreat that requires a passport. That's just me. Only because it's something about the Caribbean and the blue seas that does something to my mental status. So those
Mhm.
are my last two questions for you.
Okay, so I'll work backwards. The way that people can find me, and I'll give a few different ways depending on what feels right for each person. But I do have a podcast. It's called Getting Raw with Denise, and you can find it on any podcast platform. And I also have a weekly newsletter that I send out to the community, and in there I share more raw isms just to help along this life journey and keeping you up to date with what's going on with things I have like events and retreats. And the best, easiest way to find me is my website, which is denisemarsh.net. And on there, there's even a little section where if you want to get on what I call a love chat, and a love chat is a way for us to have a complimentary 30-minute conversation to see if I'm able to support you on your journey. And during that time, if there is alignment, we can talk about the different ways that I can serve you and support you. And there is a way to sign up for that on my website, denisemarsh.net. And my next retreat is actually in Bali, which requires that passport. And the one after that is to the Netherlands and Belgium. So I have a few, and I also am doing some private retreats in the south of France and Italy. So I have a few things going on over the next year. And what I want to leave with the audience, stop with the bull crap excuses as to why you cannot live the life you want to live. Just stop. Just stop already, right? Stop thinking that everyone else that you see, know, admire can do it, but you can't. The difference is that they are willing to do it and they stopped with the excuses. So stop saying you want something and start saying you're willing to do it and just put a step forward in making it happen.
Whoa, that is a great way to end our conversation today. It has been such a pleasure to learn more about you and others that are in the book. But I want to thank you again for joining this movement. I've been joking about in 2025, it's going to be where are they now? The 2024 52 authors, because I believe we have to lead by example. And so
Mhm.
with the listening, viewing audience hearing about the retreats that were going to take place, and then you being able to say, well, this is what happened on the retreats, and this is why you need to join in, and being able to tell stories about how lives have been impacted. And it's just us regular folks. And I know, let me ask a question, because people are going to say, well, I don't have a passport, so I can't go on the retreat. Okay, well, work on getting a passport. I can't go on the retreat because it's probably going to cost XYZ. And let me just tell some folks, you are walking around on your body with something that is the equivalent of paying for you to go on a retreat. All you got to do is look on your body, look in your closet. It's there. And so don't allow those excuses to hold you back. It's so true. People, when somebody tell me they can't afford to do something, but I see them walking around with a $4,000 purse, I'm like, well, I'm thinking you figured out how to get that purse. You figure out how to do the things that you really want to do.
Yes, like people will put their time, money, and energy into what they really want, right? And so we're making investments all the time with our time, our energy, and our money. And the thing is, a lot of people put so much emphasis on the money part, but when you think about it, time is the one thing you don't get back. Energy, once it's depleted the day, you can't get back the energy for the day. Money can constantly be replenished. So when someone's saying, I can't afford this, okay, well, is this something you really want? Right. And so if someone says, I don't have a passport, you're absolutely right. Go ahead and apply for one. If you're saying that you can't afford it, okay, is this something you really feel could benefit you? Because if so, there's a payment plan, right? And so there's all these different, ways that you can solve the issue, but it really is more so that sometimes people feel that they're not worthy of the experience, or they feel that, I don't know if is this really going to help me? I don't know what if I can't do it? What if and that's where we have to work through those fears. And you're right, like my retreats are not for everyone, but those that it is for, it makes a huge impact. And I always tell people, I can't tell you exactly what's going to happen on this retreat, but what I can say with the utmost confidence is that you will leave different than the way you arrived. That is a promise. And so it's an investment, whether it's investing in a retreat, investing in a book, investing in a meal, like you're making an investment all the time. And so asking yourself every time you invest your time, your money, and your energy, is this serving me? Is this serving where I'm trying to go in my life journey? If the answer is yes, make the investment.
I love it. And you mentioned the word something you want. I'm going to say that it's something that you need. And because I want to be a size 3, right? Not really. But I want certain things, but instead of focusing on where I am, I'm just going to talk about me and my journey. Instead of focusing on what I want, I'm focusing on what I need. And
Mhm.
I need experiences over things,
Mhm.
because the experiences is what allows me to get things when I want to get the things. Experiences allows me to help others when they need it most. And so I need to do it for who? Self.
Yourself.
Self. All right, everyone.
Yes.
We could be talking for hours, but I am going to say again, thank you so much, everyone. It's been another amazing, amazing episode. 52 authors, 52 weeks. I'll see you next week.